Ma'am, are you okay?
I'm sorry, sir. I only sat down for 1 minute.
You don't need to apologize for being tired.
If the floor isn't done, they cut our hours.
Tonight, you are not finishing this floor.
A Millionaire CEO walks into his bathroom and finds a cleaning lady sleeping on the toilet lid and falls hopelessly in love. Before we begin, leave a comment letting us know where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. Lily Collins was at her limit. She had been working double shifts for a week, cleaning hotel rooms during the day and covering the night shift for a lazy friend who always had a new excuse. Now here she was, exhausted, drained, a zombie holding a mop. The VIP suite was the last one of the day. She just wanted to finish and go home. Moving at the speed of a sleepy turtle, she stepped into the luxurious bathroom. It was the biggest she had ever seen, about the size of her entire apartment. Wow, this place is a palace. Who needs a bathroom this big? Does it have an echo? She murmured, pouring disinfectant into the sink. She scrubbed, wiped, washed. Exhaustion had put her on autopilot. But the worst was yet to come. She bent down to clean around the bathtub, leaned her head on her arm for just a second, and suddenly felt her body grow heavier. Just 5 seconds. Just 5. And then she fell asleep, right there, resting on the toilet lid. Dylan Scott had just wrapped up an exhausting day of meetings. All he wanted was silence and a hot shower. As soon as he entered his suite, he took off his suit and tie, unbuttoned his shirt, and walked across the room straight to the bathroom, thinking only of the soothing steam. He opened the door without looking around and stepped inside. And that's when he nearly had a heart attack. "What the hell?" His voice echoed through the bathroom, almost shattering the mirrors. Dylan jumped back. His heart pounded as if he were being attacked by a polar bear with a weapon. There, leaning against the toilet lid, was a woman in a hotel uniform, sleeping. In his bathroom. The shock was so intense that he almost threw his shirt at her like an exorcism. Lily, in turn, woke up to the most terrifying scream she had ever heard. She jolted awake, lost her balance, and fell to the floor, knocking over the cleaning supply bucket. "Oh my God, what's happening?" Dylan stepped back as if she were a ghost crawling out of the drain. "Who are you, and what are you doing in my room?" Lily, completely disoriented, widened her eyes at the shirtless man in front of her. Tall, dark hair, intense expression, furious eyes, and incredibly handsome. She blinked a few times, trying to process everything. Big bathroom, expensive soap scent, housekeeping uniform. The guest's room. Reality hit her all at once. She froze. Then her eyes widened even more as she shouted, "I didn't rob you, I swear!" Dylan blinked. "What? I just fell asleep here." "No, that sounded bad." Lily raised her hands, as if a police officer had a gun pointed at her. "I was just cleaning and you decided to take a nap in my bathroom? Or is your cleaning technique about napping in guests' bathrooms too?" Lily stammered. She was in trouble. "It's not exactly like that. I mean, it is, but..." Dylan pinched the bridge of his nose, trying to stay calm. "So my bathroom is a dormitory now? It was a very quick nap." "Oh, sure, just a little 30-minute nap on the toilet seat. It was only 5 minutes. Do you have a stopwatch in your brain or something?" "Sir, I know this looks bad, but I work morning and night. My body just shut down." Dylan took a deep breath. He wanted to be mad. He really did. But for some reason, the whole situation was so absurd that he just couldn't. She looked desperate, her face flushed with embarrassment, her hair a mess, and staring at him as if her life depended on this moment. And then Dylan did something completely unexpected. He crossed his arms and walked out of the bathroom toward the kitchen. Lily quickly followed. He stopped, turned to her with a serious expression, and asked, "Do you drink coffee?" Lily blinked. "Huh? Coffee? Do you drink it?" "Yes. But what does that have to do with?" He grabbed a cup from the counter and handed it to her. "Try it." Still confused, Lily took the cup and smelled the coffee. She immediately made a face. "This is terrible." Dylan raised an eyebrow. "You could tell just by the smell?" Lily hesitated. Yes." A curious glint passed through his eyes. Dylan Scott, the man who never cared about anything other than business, was intrigued. And Lily, who just wanted to get out of there with her job intact, had no idea what was coming next. Lily was still holding the coffee cup like it was a bomb about to explode. Dylan watched her with an unreadable expression, arms crossed, his intense gaze locked onto her. She had no idea what to do. "So, am I fired?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dylan tilted his head as if considering the idea. I haven't decided yet. Lily felt her knees go weak. You haven't? He took the cup back and looked at the dark liquid inside. Before that, explain to me how you knew this coffee was terrible without even tasting it. It's just obvious, she replied, frowning. It smells burnt, and the beans were over-roasted, which makes it too bitter. Looks like someone tried to cover it up with sugar, but that only made it worse. Dylan raised his eyebrows. And you figured all that out just from the smell? Lily opened her mouth to respond but hesitated. Wait, why was he so interested in this? I swear I don't do this all the time. She tried to play it down. I just noticed. Dylan was silent for a few seconds, watching her like she was a complicated puzzle he needed to solve. And then, out of nowhere, he stepped back and leaned against the counter. Perfect. Perfect? You're gonna help me fix this problem. Lily blinked. I'm gonna what? The hotel's coffee is awful. I've complained, but no one can fix it. If you can tell what's wrong just by the smell, then maybe you can figure out what's wrong with the other dishes too. Lily let out a humorless laugh. Oh, sure. Because that's exactly what a cleaning staff member does. As of now, yes. She froze. Sorry, but I just do cleaning. I have nothing to do with food. Dylan shrugged. Now you do. Lily looked at him like he had just suggested she'd jump out of a plane without a parachute. I can't just suddenly become a food expert. But you don't have to. He pointed at the cup. You already are. Lily opened and closed her mouth, feeling more confused by the second. He had to be joking, right? But his expression said he wasn't. Sir, Scott, right? Right. Look, I appreciate it, but I need my job. Dylan frowned. And who said I'm firing you? Lily stayed quiet for a moment. Was this a test? She was sure she was about to lose her job, and now the hotel's CEO was asking for her help with food. None of it made sense. This isn't a test, is it? Like if I say no, are you going to fire me? Dylan sighed, already looking tired of the conversation. If I were going to fire you, I would have done it already. Now come on, you've got a breakfast to taste. Lily blinked, then again, and a third time. What? Do you want to keep arguing or just get this over with? She knew she should say no, but at the same time, she couldn't ignore the fact that he still hadn't let her go. Maybe she had a chance to save her job. Lily sighed. Fine, but if this is just a plan to fire me later, I swear. Less drama, more coffee. Lily had no idea how she even got here. 1 minute, she was arguing in the CEO's bathroom. The next, she was sitting at one of the best tables in the hotel restaurant, with a table full of fancy dishes in front of her. Dishes she was supposed to taste. Dylan sat across from her, arms crossed. All right, try them and tell me what you think. She looked at the plates, then back at him. You want me to eat all this? You work double shifts, right? When was the last time you ate? Lily opened her mouth to answer but couldn't remember. The silence was enough for Dylan to get his answer. Exactly. Now eat. Lily hesitated, then picked up a fork and tried the first dish. She made a face. The sauce is too acidic. Feels like they used too much lemon to cover up something that went wrong. Dylan nodded, as if that confirmed his suspicions. Next, she tried a piece of meat and wrinkled her nose. Overcooked. And they used a seasoning that doesn't go with the dish at all. Another plate. Is this supposed to be sweet or savory? Because right now, it's just confusing. Dylan leaned back in his chair, intrigued. She didn't just notice the mistakes, she described exactly what was wrong. And for the first time in a long while, he was impressed. Lily wiped her mouth and looked at him. Okay, can I go now? Dylan tilted his head. Have you ever thought about working with food? Lily laughed. You mean eating bad food? No, identifying it. Lily stopped laughing. What? You have a rare talent. Most people wouldn't even catch half the mistakes you just pointed out. It's just a silly trick. It doesn't mean anything. Dylan stared at her for a long moment, like she'd just said the most ridiculous thing in the world. I bet people have said the same thing about you before. Lily opened her mouth but had no words. He was right. Dylan stood up, adjusting his sleeves. Tomorrow morning, you're coming with me to the kitchen. I want you to taste a few ingredients. Lily's eyes widened. What? And don't try to run. I know where you work. Lily nearly fell out of her chair. Are you insane? For the first time that night, Dylan laughed. Not yet, but give it time. Lily spent the entire night trying to make sense of what had just happened. She should have been fired. In fact, any normal person would have been kicked out of the hotel immediately for being caught sleeping on the CEO's toilet lid. But somehow, not only did she still have her job, she was now caught up in some random plan to improve the hotel's breakfast. Did it make sense? No. Did she want to be part of it? Also no. But Dylan Scott didn't seem like the kind of man who accepted no as an answer. So the next morning, there she was, dragging herself to the hotel kitchen, exhausted and mentally begging herself not to do anything that would get her officially fired. She pushed open the kitchen door and saw Dylan standing next to the head chef. The CEO glanced at his watch, then at her. "You're late." Lily sighed. "If you're going to fire me, just do it now. I only got 3 hours of sleep." Dylan smirked. "You'll survive. Now come here." The head chef, a tall, broad-shouldered man named Eduardo, eyed her suspiciously. "This is the cleaning lady?" He crossed his arms. "What is she doing here?" "Saving the hotel's breakfast," Dylan answered flatly. Eduardo frowned. "With all due respect, Mr. Scott, my team is highly trained. I don't think we need a cleaner's opinion." Lily froze. She already felt out of place being here. Now she had to deal with a chef who saw her as a joke. Dylan, however, didn't even blink. "I tasted the food yesterday. If your team was as qualified as you say, we wouldn't be having this conversation." The silence that followed was so heavy that Lily wanted to disappear under the counter. Eduardo clenched his jaw, clearly irritated. "And what exactly does Miss Collins have to say about my kitchen?" Dylan gestured toward Lily. "Find out for yourself." Lily froze. "What? You said the coffee was terrible. Now tell me what's wrong with the other dishes." Eduardo let out a sarcastic laugh. "Great. Let's hear what the mop expert has to say." Lily felt her face heat up. What an unbearable man. But if he wanted a show, she would give him one. Taking a deep breath, Lily grabbed a spoon and tasted one of the dishes. She chewed slowly, analyzing every flavor. "The scrambled eggs are dry. You used low-quality butter, and the salt is off." Eduardo crossed his arms. "What else?" Lily picked up a piece of bread and took a bite. "The bread isn't fresh. Either it was baked yesterday or stored poorly." "All right. And the juice?" She took a glass and sipped. She winced. "This is a disaster." Eduardo raised an eyebrow. "And why is that?" "Because someone mixed fresh orange juice with store-bought and added a generous touch of disappointment." Dylan bit back a smile. Eduardo, on the other hand, looked ready to explode. "All right, Miss Collins, if you're so smart, what do you suggest?" Lily looked at him for a moment, then turned to Dylan. "Can I speak freely, or am I risking my life?" Dylan chuckled. "Speak freely." Lily turned back to Eduardo. "This is a 5-star hotel. Guests expect high-quality food, but breakfast tastes like an airport cafeteria. If you want my opinion, you need to upgrade the ingredients. Real butter, fresh bread, farm eggs." The chef clenched his jaw. "That costs money. And bad food costs customers." Eduardo turned red. Dylan, on the other hand, seemed to be enjoying himself. "Then it's settled. We'll test Miss Collins' suggestions." Eduardo looked like he was about to swallow a bucket of boiling oil. "This is an insult. I have years of experience, and this girl just came from cleaning." Dylan shrugged. "And yet, she managed to point out every issue with your food in under 5 minutes." The chef snapped his mouth shut. Dylan turned to Lily. "Well done. Now go get some rest." Lily left the restaurant, feeling like she had just run a marathon. But for the first time, she felt like she had done something important, even if it was just fixing breakfast. Lily was folding sheets in the laundry room when Carla burst in, out of breath. "Lily!" Lily looked up. "What is it?" "People are saying you humiliated the chef in front of the CEO," Lily grimaced. "I just told the truth." Carla's eyes widened. "And he let you walk out alive?" "More or less." Carla grabbed her by the shoulders. "Are you sleeping with him?" Lily choked on her own saliva. "What?" "People are saying he promoted you because you two are having an affair." Lily buried her face in her hands. "I'm going to disappear under the sheets and never come out." But before she could do that, the laundry room door opened. Eduardo walked in. "Miss Collins." Lily swallowed hard. Hi?" Eduardo took a deep breath. "I wanted to say that. I was an idiot this morning." Lily froze. "Huh? You were right. We changed the breakfast ingredients, and the guests loved it." Lily blinked, trying to understand if she had heard correctly. Eduardo was apologizing? He held out his hand. "Can I count on your opinion when we try new dishes?" Lily looked at his hand. then at Carla, who looked even more shocked than she was. With a sigh, she shook the chef's hand. "As long as I don't have to wash the dishes afterward." Eduardo laughed. "Deal." Carla held back a squeal. Lily didn't know how, but she had just earned a new role at the hotel, and she had no idea where it would lead. Lily still couldn't believe what had happened that morning. She, a simple housekeeping staff member, had managed to challenge the hotel's head chef, fix breakfast, and somehow survive the experience. Not just survive, she was now officially someone people listened to when it came to food. But that also meant the rumors were spreading like wildfire in the hotel halls. What started as Lily slept in the CEO's bathroom quickly turned into Lily and the CEO had a private moment in the bathroom. And by noon, it had escalated to Lily is having a secret affair with the boss and now has free access to the kitchen. She tried to ignore the curious stares and the whispers behind her back as she changed the sheets in one of the rooms. But it wasn't working. "So you're the hotel's new favorite now?" The irritating voice of Julia, one of the receptionists, made Lily sigh before even turning around. "I'm the new official tester of bad food. That's all." Julia crossed her arms. "Funny. No one has ever been promoted this fast in this hotel. You must have done something really special to get Mr. Scott's attention like that." Lily rolled her eyes. "Do I need to spell it out? I slept in his bathroom, and instead of firing me, he made me taste bad coffee. That's the whole story." Julia raised an eyebrow, clearly not buying it. "Sure. I'm sure that's all it was." Lily took a deep breath. "Look, I'd love to stay and listen to your crazy theories, but I actually have a job to do." "Excuse me." She grabbed her cleaning cart and pushed it down the hall before Julia could say anything else. The only thing she wanted now was for Dylan to leave her alone. Hopefully, he had already forgotten his ridiculous idea of making her try more dishes and would let her go back to her normal life. But she should have known. Dylan Scott never forgot anything. Late in the afternoon, just as she was about to leave and finally get some rest, Lily received a message from Carla. "Chef Eduardo wants to talk to you in the kitchen. You'd better go before he throws you into the soup pot." Lily sighed. This never ends. When she got to the kitchen, Eduardo was waiting with his arms crossed, but this time, he didn't look like he was ready to attack her. "Mr. Scott wants to see you in the restaurant." "Now." Lily sighed again. "He never gets tired, does he?" Eduardo smirked. "You're still breathing, so I guess not." Resigned, she made her way to the restaurant, where she found Dylan sitting at a table, studying a menu with the same intensity as someone making stock market decisions. "I should start charging for these consultations," Lily said, pulling out a chair and sitting down without waiting for an invitation. Dylan looked up at her. "Very funny." "I try." He set the menu aside and looked at her for a moment. "I have a proposal for you." Lily blinked. "That doesn't sound good." "You'll like it?" "I doubt it." Dylan ignored her and went on. "There's a major food event happening in Paris next week, one of the biggest in the world." Lily just stared at him, waiting for the part that made sense. "Okay. And? I want you to come with me." She blinked again. What? You heard me. I want you to come with me." She let out a laugh, not believing what she was hearing. Wait. You want me to go with you to some fancy food event in Paris?" "Exactly." She laughed even harder. "I'm a housekeeper, Scott. I clean rooms and scrub toilets. You want me to go to Paris just to tell you if a dish is bad?" Dylan leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, his expression serious. "You have a special talent, a refined palate, something most people don't have. I want you to help me identify the best chefs and ingredients." Lily shook her head, still in disbelief. "I don't even know where to start with how crazy this is. First, I shouldn't even be here. Second, who says I actually know what I'm doing?" "I do." She opened her mouth to argue, but the conviction in his eyes stopped her. He believed in her, and that made her uncomfortable. "I can't accept." Dylan frowned. "Why not?" Because it's ridiculous. I don't know anything about these events." "I didn't either the first time I went," she scoffed. "That's different. You're a CEO. And you have a gift." Lily didn't know what to say. Had anyone ever said something like that to her before? Had anyone ever believed she was truly good at something? She lowered her gaze to the table. "I have a job here. I'll pay you twice what you make at the hotel." Her eyes widened in surprise. "What?" "It's only fair, considering you'll be helping me." She still couldn't believe this was happening. I can't just drop everything. You don't have to. It's just a 3-day trip. Lily bit her lip, trying to ignore the feeling that she was walking into a trap. But at the same time, when would she ever get an opportunity like this again? I need to think. Dylan nodded. That's fine. But don't take too long. Lily left the restaurant feeling like the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. Was she really considering this? Was she crazy enough to travel with Dylan Scott? Maybe she was, but she wasn't ready to admit it yet. She spent the rest of the day trying to push the thought away. She focused on her work, folding bed linens, cleaning rooms. But every time someone mentioned Dylan Scott's name, a strange chill ran down her spine. Had he really made that ridiculous offer? Her? In Paris? As if she were someone important? As if she were someone who mattered to him beyond being just an employee who, by sheer accident, had caught his attention? Every time she thought about it, the most logical explanation came to mind. He was messing with her. There was no other reason. And yet, when her shift ended and she returned to her small rented apartment, she collapsed onto the couch and stared at the ceiling. The trip was in 3 days. 3 days. If she said yes, she'd be boarding a plane with Dylan, going to an event where she knew no one, didn't understand the rules, and would probably feel like a complete fool. But if she said no, Lily closed her eyes and took a deep breath. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. For years, she had been told she wasn't good enough for anything other than hard labor. No one had ever looked at her and said, "You're talented." No one had ever believed in her. And now, Dylan Scott, the CEO of the hotel, was saying she was special, that he wanted her by his side, helping him pick the best chefs and dishes, even if it was a mistake, even if he was wrong. For the first time, Lily wanted to believe that maybe there was something inside her that was worth something. And before she could change her mind, she picked up her phone and typed a message. "Okay, I'm in." Seconds later, his reply arrived. "Great, get ready for the trip." She let out a long sigh. What on earth was she doing? The day of the trip arrived faster than Lily expected. She woke up before her alarm, packed her bag with clothes borrowed from Carla, because, according to her friend, if you're traveling with a billionaire, at least try to look rich, and headed to the airport with sweaty palms. Dylan was waiting in the VIP lounge, dressed impeccably as always. He looked completely at ease, as if this were just another ordinary day for him. For Lily, it felt completely surreal. "You're on time. That's a miracle." Lily rolled her eyes. "I thought about running away, but my bank account convinced me to stay," Dylan chuckled. That's the spirit. Before she could overthink it, she was being led onto the plane. But of course, this wasn't just any plane. She had flown before, but always crammed into economy class, hoping she wouldn't end up next to someone snoring. Now, she was on a private jet, with soft leather seats, real food being served, and enough space to dance if she wanted to. "Okay," she said, looking around. "This is way nicer than the flying buses I'm used to." Dylan gave a small smile. "Good to know I'm already impressing you." Lily sank into the seat and let out a sigh. "You don't need to impress me, Scott. You just need to make sure I don't embarrass myself in Paris." "No promises." She turned to look at him. "You really enjoy torturing me, don't you?" "One of my favorite pastimes." The plane took off, and Lily closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the butterflies in her stomach. She was really going to Paris, with Dylan Scott. Nothing in her life had ever been this surreal. The hotel they were staying at looked like something out of a movie. Gold-trimmed furniture, sparkling chandeliers, luxurious carpets, everything looked so expensive that Lily was afraid to touch anything. But the worst was yet to come. That night, Dylan took her to an exclusive dinner before the main event. And that's when Lily realized just how deep she was in trouble. Everyone in the room seemed to belong to a world she would never be part of. Women in long gowns and dangerously high heels, men in tailored suits, all holding wine glasses and speaking French like movie stars. Lily, in her borrowed dress, felt like a complete fraud among them. Dylan, on the other hand, looked right at home. He moved through the room effortlessly, greeting important people, chatting with renowned chefs, while Lily tried to act like she knew what she was doing. But then, the moment she feared arrived. "Miss Collins, right?" A middle-aged man approached, smiling politely. Lily blinked. Yes?" Dylan mentioned you have a special talent for identifying flavors. She shot a deadly glare at Dylan, who only smiled like he was completely innocent. The man picked up a wine glass and handed it to her. Then tell us, what year is this wine from? Lily looked at the glass as if it were poison. Dylan just crossed his arms, clearly enjoying himself. Don't look at me like that. This is part of your job now. Gritting her teeth, Lily took a small sip. The wine was strong, full-bodied, but there was something different about it. She analyzed the taste and without thinking said, this was aged in oak barrels, but there's a fruity note. It must be a recent vintage, maybe 3 years old? The man's eyes widened. Exactly. Lily froze. What? You got it right. Dylan smiled, satisfied. See? I knew you were good at this. Lily looked at the glass like the wine had just revealed the secrets of the universe. Had she really gotten it right? Maybe. Maybe being here wasn't such a mistake after all. The dinner continued, with Lily being introduced to more and more people, and with each dish she tasted, her confidence grew just a little more. By the end of the night, as they were heading back to the hotel, Dylan turned to her with an amused smile. I admit it. You surprised me, Lily scoffed. I surprised myself. He stopped in front of her and tilted his head. So? Still think you don't belong in this world? She stared at him for a long moment. For the first time, she didn't know how to answer. Maybe she did belong. Maybe she had spent too much time thinking she wasn't good enough. Dylan studied her for a few more seconds before giving a small smile. You've got talent, Collins, and now that I know that, I'm not letting you slip away. Lily felt a shiver run through her. Dylan Scott never said anything by accident, and suddenly she realized this trip could change much more than her career. It could change everything. Lily woke up the next morning feeling like she was still dreaming. She was in Paris, in a 5-star hotel, traveling with a billionaire CEO who, for some inexplicable reason, thought she had talent. If someone had told her that a week ago, she would have laughed in their face and told them to get help. But here she was, lying in the most comfortable bed she had ever slept in, staring at the ceiling and trying to figure out how her life had flipped upside down so quickly. Sighing, she got up and walked over to the window. The view of the city was breathtaking. Historic buildings, busy streets, charming cafes, everything looked like it came out of a movie. And she, Lily Collins, was right there in the middle of all of it. A notification sound made her grab her phone. It was a message from Dylan. Breakfast at 8. Don't be late. Lily rolled her eyes. Not even in Paris does he give a break. But, despite mentally complaining, she took a quick shower, got dressed, and went downstairs to meet him. Dylan was already sitting at a table in the hotel restaurant, reading something on his phone. Do you always arrive first everywhere? He looked up and gave her a smirk. Some call it punctuality, others call it efficiency. She sat down and picked up the menu. And I call it unbearable. He laughed. The waiter approached, and Dylan ordered a black coffee. Lily, on the other hand, ordered a croissant and hot chocolate. You're not a coffee fan? Dylan asked, raising an eyebrow. I like it, but we're in Paris. Hot chocolate here is practically a work of art. He didn't argue, just watched as she took her first sip and closed her eyes, sighing. My God, this is good. Dylan smiled, shaking his head. You really take food seriously. You brought me here for that, didn't you? True. They had breakfast without rushing, and Lily noticed that, for the first time, his company didn't seem so strange. It was almost natural. When they were finished, Dylan paid and stood up. We've got a busy day ahead. Don't tell me I'm going to have to try more mysterious wine, he laughed. Today is about food. We'll be doing tastings with some of the best chefs in France. Lily's eyes widened. That sounds intense. You'll survive. She scoffed but walked alongside him. The tastings took place in a private room at the food event, where renowned chefs prepared dishes for a select group of guests. Lily tried dishes she never even imagined existed. Refined flavors, sophisticated techniques, and, to her own surprise, she realized she actually knew what she was doing. She pointed out small mistakes, identified secret ingredients, and even suggested improvements that made a few chefs raise their eyebrows in surprise. Dylan watched her the whole time, his gaze a mix of satisfaction and curiosity. When the event ended, they were walking through the hall when an elegant woman approached. tall, blonde, wearing a tight, expensive dress, with a smile that radiated absolute confidence. Lily didn't know who she was, but she immediately recognized the type. Someone from Dylan's world. "Dylan Scott," the woman said, smiling. "Long time no see." Dylan smiled politely. "Madeline, didn't expect to see you here. Paris is my second home, darling, and you," she glanced at Lily. "Got yourself some new company?" Lily felt a shiver run down her spine at the way the woman assessed her from head to toe. "Lily Collins," Dylan said casually. "She's working with me." Madeline smiled, but Lily noticed the subtle spark of disdain. "Oh, how interesting. And how exactly is she working with you?" Lily felt her stomach churn. She knew exactly what that question implied. Dylan noticed too and furrowed his brow. "Lily has a special talent for flavors. She's helping me evaluate the dishes at the event." Madeline feigned surprise. "How curious. I could have sworn she was, well, something completely different." Lily clenched her fists. She knew exactly what the woman was implying. Dylan noticed her expression and placed a hand gently on her back, a small but protective gesture. "It was good to see you, Madeline," he said, ending the conversation. Madeline threw one last glance at Lily before smiling and walking away. Lily let out the breath she didn't even realize she'd been holding. Dylan looked at her. "Ignore it." She crossed her arms. "You caught what she was implying, right?" "Yes, and that's why I shouldn't be here." Dylan stopped, gently holding her arm so she would look at him. "You're here because you have talent. What others think doesn't matter." Lily bit her lip, looking away. "Easy for you to say. You're a billionaire. And you're smart, so stop worrying." She wanted to believe him, but part of her knew that people like Madeline would never see someone like her as anything more than an outsider. Later that night, when Lily was alone at the hotel bar, she saw Madeline talking to Dylan across the room. And to her dismay, they looked pretty close. She shouldn't care. It didn't make sense to care. But when Madeline touched Dylan's arm and he smiled, Lily felt something twist inside her. She got up and left the room before she could figure out what it was. Minutes later, she was in her room, sitting on the bed, trying to convince herself that it was nothing. But her heart didn't believe it. And for the first time, Lily realized that maybe, just maybe, she was starting to feel something for Dylan Scott. Lily spent the whole night trying to ignore the unease in her chest. She didn't care. Or at least, that's what she kept telling herself as she turned over in bed, trying to find a comfortable position to sleep. But every time she closed her eyes, the image of Dylan and Madeline talking would pop into her mind. The way the woman touched his arm, the way he smiled at her, how they seemed to belong to the same world. What was Lily doing there? She felt like a child playing in an executive's office, a background character in a movie starring rich, sophisticated people. And now that she was there, she felt like everyone was just waiting for her to make a mistake so they could kick her out. And maybe that's exactly what she should do. When the sun rose, Lily got up with a decision made. She grabbed her phone and typed a message to Dylan. "I think I'd better go home. Thanks for the opportunity, but I don't belong in this world." She stared at the screen for a moment before hitting send. Done. Now, just wait. But the response came too quickly. "Meet me at the restaurant in 10 minutes. Lily sighed. Great. She dressed reluctantly and went downstairs to the restaurant. She found Dylan sitting at the table drinking coffee with a very unhappy look on his face. "Good morning," she said, sitting across from him. "You think you can just send me a message like that and run away?" "I'm not running away. I'm being realistic." He crossed his arms. "Realistic?" "Yes. Look, Dylan, I appreciate everything you've done, but it doesn't make sense for me to stay here." He stared at her for a long moment before tilting his head. "This is about Madeline?" Lily felt her stomach drop. "What? No, of course not." Dylan smirked. "You disappeared right after you saw us talking." "I was just tired." "Collins, you're not good at lying." She rolled her eyes, grabbing a piece of bread and spreading butter on it, trying to act indifferent. "It has nothing to do with that. I just think it was a mistake to accept this trip." "Why?" She dropped the bread and looked at him. "Because I'm not like you, Dylan. I'm not sophisticated. I don't speak French. I don't know how to act at these events. You saw the way Madeline looked at me. The way everyone looks at me." Dylan sighed, rubbing his face. "So that's it? You want to quit just because a few snobby people can't handle the fact that you're more talented than they are? I'm not more talented than anyone. You are. Lily stayed silent. Dylan leaned over the table, his gaze intense. You think I brought you here for nothing? I don't waste my time with people who have no value. She felt her heart race. He rarely complimented anyone. He rarely said anything that direct. And damn, it made her want to believe him. But then, Dylan stood up and threw a card on the table. You have until noon to decide. If you want to leave, there's a flight back home reserved for you. But if you want to stay, meet me in the main hall at 3 p.m. Lily looked at the card, then at him. Dylan watched her for a moment before leaving the restaurant. She took a deep breath. Now what? Staying meant continuing to deal with a world that didn't accept her. But leaving meant admitting she was running away. And Lily Collins never ran from anything. When the clock struck 3, she was in the main hall. Dylan didn't smile when he saw her, but there was something satisfied in his expression. Good. Now stop acting like you don't deserve to be here and come with me. And Lily, for the first time since she arrived, decided she was going to do just that. That afternoon's event was one of the most important of the food conference. Dylan had meetings with investors, and Lily had to attend a panel about new talents in international cuisine. She was determined to soak up everything she could. Listen to the experts, pay attention to the details, try to understand what made a dish truly memorable. But while she was making mental notes, she overheard 2 women whispering behind her. Did you see that girl with Dylan Scott? Yeah, they say he picked up a cleaning lady and brought her to Paris. Lily felt her face flush. Must be some kind of whim of his, or maybe she has something special he likes, if you know what I mean. The 2 women laughed. Lily closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. She wasn't going to let it bother her. She wasn't going to give them that satisfaction. Instead, she turned around with a sweet smile and said, in a friendly tone, "Oh, thank you for caring so much about my life. I'd love to continue this conversation, but I need to get back to the panel. After all, I'm actually here working. Can you say the same?" The 2 women were left speechless. Lily blinked, turned around, and went back to paying attention to the panel, feeling much better. She didn't have time to worry about small people. When she met Dylan at the end of the event, he noticed something different about her. What happened? She smiled. I think I finally understand why I'm here. He raised an eyebrow. And why's that? Because I'm good at this. Dylan smirked. Finally, Lily felt light. For the first time she was there, not because he chose her, but because she chose to be there. And that changed everything. Lily never thought she could feel so comfortable in a place that just a few days ago seemed completely out of her reach. But there she was, sitting next to Dylan, evaluating dishes with some of the world's top food critics, and for the first time, not feeling like she was in the wrong place. She still attracted attention. That was inevitable. People still whispered when she walked by. They still looked at her like she was an outsider for being there. But now, Lily didn't care anymore. And somehow, that seemed to bother people more than if she had just given up and left. The night came quickly, and Dylan organized a dinner at an exclusive restaurant for a few guests. The setting was elegant, the food impeccable, and the wine flowing freely. Lily tried to follow the conversations around her, but realized she didn't have to try so hard anymore. She could already identify which ingredients were used in each dish. She could recognize the technical details of the preparations. She was learning. And Dylan knew it. You're more confident, he said after the waiter served dessert. Do I seem more confident, or am I finally? Dylan smiled. Both. She picked up her fork and cut a piece of the dessert in front of her. What's wrong? You look surprised. Just satisfied. Why? He leaned a bit toward the table, eyes fixed on her. Because I knew you were good at this. I was just waiting for you to realize it too. Lily felt warmth rise in her face, but covered it up by taking a sip of wine. The dinner continued normally until Madeline arrived. As always, she looked like she stepped out of a fashion magazine. Flawless and confident, she sat down at the table as if she were the hostess of the night and shot a sharp smile at Lily. Darling, what a surprise to see you here. Lily smiled back. I'm not a surprise anymore. I'm starting to become part of this world. Madeline raised her eyebrows. Is that what you think? Dylan cleared his throat, interrupting their exchange of barbs. What brings you here, Madeline? She grabbed a glass of wine, swirled the liquid in the glass, and smiled. A friendly warning. Lily crossed her arms. Oh, that sounds interesting. Please go on. Madeline's eyes rested on Dylan. You know this world is a game, and as much as you like to bring challenges to yourself, there are things that simply don't fit in it. Lily noticed the quick glance the blonde threw her way. Dylan remained unfazed. Madeline, I'm tired of your little games. If you have something to say it already. The woman smiled, leaning slightly forward. Have you ever stopped to think about how this might hurt your image? Bringing a cleaning lady to Paris, introducing her as if she's some kind of expert. People talk, Dylan, and believe me, not everyone is happy about it. Lily felt her blood boil, but before she could respond, Dylan spoke up. Who cares about what they say? Madeline laughed as if he were too naive. You, darling, deep down you've always cared. You wouldn't have gotten where you are if you didn't know how to play this game. Dylan held her gaze for a moment and then smiled slyly. Funny, I always thought the game was about talent. And Lily has that in spades. Madeline rolled her eyes. You really think that's enough? Lily, who had been holding herself back until then, decided it was time to speak up. Madeline, let me ask you something. The blonde stared at her, surprised that she was jumping into the conversation so directly. What exactly bothers you so much? The fact that I'm here? Or the fact that you can't bring me down? The silence that followed was almost palpable. Madeline briefly hardened her expression, but quickly recovered with a smile. You think you're so smart, don't you? I am smart, and you know that. Dylan watched the exchange with a glint of amusement in his eyes. Madeline took a deep breath and looked at him again. Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you. She stood up, adjusted her dress, and walked out of the restaurant without looking back. Lily sighed and picked up her glass of wine. If she's going to be a recurring problem, I'll need a raise. Dylan laughed, grabbing his own glass and raising it. You're already negotiating salary? I'm learning fast. He smiled, and they toasted. But Lily knew this wasn't over. Madeline wasn't the kind of woman to just accept losing. And somehow, Lily felt like this was just the first visible threat. Because if there was one thing she had learned about this world, it was that enemies never attacked head-on. They waited, they planned, and when you least expected it, they brought you down. Lily wasn't going to let that happen. She was ready to fight. Lily noticed something had changed after that night. It wasn't just Madeline. The whole atmosphere around her seemed different. Before, people looked at her with curiosity, as if waiting for her to fail. Now, the hostility was open. She had become a problem. And it didn't take long for her to feel it in her bones. The next day, at an exclusive food event, she and Dylan entered the hall, and immediately, the whispers started. But this time, it wasn't just quiet mutterings. People were speaking openly. I heard she was a maid at his hotel. He brought an amateur to Paris and pretended she was an expert. Of course, there's another reason she's here. Lily felt her anger rise, but she tried to stay calm. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her lose control. Dylan, on the other hand, wasn't calm at all. He gritted his teeth and shot a hard look at the people around them, who quickly turned their eyes away, pretending they weren't gossiping. Collins, ignore them. Easy for you to say. He looked at her, his tone firm. You want to prove you belong here? Then act like you don't care about these idiots. The only way to win this game is not to play by their rules. Lily took a deep breath. He was right. If she acted like those words mattered, she'd be proving they were right. She lifted her chin, ignored the stares, and walked confidently through the room, beside Dylan. But the real surprise of the night came when they were introduced to one of the world's top food critics, Jacques Moreau. Mr. Scott, a pleasure to see you again. The man, an elderly Frenchman with sharp eyes, shook Dylan's hand before turning to Lily. And you must be Lily Collins. She blinked, surprised. You've heard of me? Oh, mon cher, the whole of Paris has heard of you. Dylan hid a smile while Lily tried to mask her shock. The whole of Paris? Moreau laughed at her expression. People love a scandal, especially when it challenges the system. But I prefer facts. He handed Lily a tasting plate. So tell me, what do you think of this dish? Her heart raced. Everyone around them stopped to watch. She picked up her fork, tasted the food, and closed her eyes, analyzing every flavor. She took a deep breath and said, confidently, "The dish is technically flawless, but it's predictable. The sauce is classic, but it's missing a bit of freshness. Maybe a citrusy touch to balance the richness." Silence. Lily held her breath, waiting for laughs or mocking looks, but Moreau smiled. "Interesting." She blinked. "Interesting. How?" He handed the plate back to the waiter and crossed his arms. "Because you're right." More silence. This time there were no mocking eyes. There was respect. Dylan smiled, pleased. "I told you she was good." Moreau nodded, looking impressed. "Mademoiselle Collins, I'll be watching your career with great interest." He walked away, and Lily finally exhaled, not even realizing she'd been holding her breath. Dylan leaned in close to her and whispered, "Now they know you're not playing around." She didn't know if she felt relief or if more weight was on her shoulders, but for the first time she felt like she'd won a battle. The problem was, when you start winning a dangerous game, people play dirtier. And Lily had no idea what was about to happen. The next morning, she received a message from an unknown number. "If you want to know the truth about Dylan Scott, come to the hotel bar. 3 p.m. alone." She frowned. What the hell was that? She immediately forwarded the message to Dylan, but the response was quick and unexpected. "Don't go." Lily looked at her phone, feeling a shiver run down her spine. If Dylan didn't want her to go, it meant there was something there, and she needed to find out. So at 3 p.m. she was in the hotel bar, waiting. Then Madeline showed up. "Oh, so you came." Lily crossed her arms. "I'm curious." Madeline sat down and grabbed a glass of wine. "You're smart, Collins, but you still don't know this world." "And you think you're going to teach me?" The blonde laughed, shaking her head. "I don't need to teach you anything. I just need to show you something." She took her phone, swiped the screen, and turned it to Lily. It was a picture of Dylan, with Madeline. What seemed to be a romantic dinner. Lily felt her stomach drop. "What's this?" "A dinner, dear. You think you're the first woman Dylan picks up and brings to Paris?" Lily pressed her lips together. "What do you mean by that?" Madeline smiled, leaning over the table. "Don't you get it? You're just a whim to him." Lily wanted to laugh. She knew Madeline was manipulative. She knew she wanted her to doubt Dylan. But, on the other hand, why had he never mentioned Madeline? Why had he never explained what their relationship was? Madeline noticed the hesitation and smiled. "Leave while you still can, before he discards you." Lily stood up, grabbing her bag. "Thanks for the concern, Madeline, but if Dylan wants to discard me, he'll have to face me and say it to my face." She left without looking back, but her heart was racing, because for the first time a doubt had been planted, and she needed to know the truth. That night, when she returned to the hotel, Dylan was waiting for her in the hallway. "I told you not to go." Lily crossed her arms. "And I went anyway." His eyes sparkled with a mix of frustration and amusement. "I don't know if I admire you or want to lock you in a room until this trip is over. Good luck trying." He sighed and rubbed his neck. "What did she say to you?" Lily watched him for a moment before speaking. "That I'm just a whim of yours." Dylan froze. She noticed the subtle clench of his jaw, but he quickly regained his composure. "And you believed it?" She hesitated. "I want to hear it from you." He stared at her for a long moment before stepping forward. "Collins, if I wanted any woman by my side, I would have chosen one who didn't challenge me all the time." Her heart skipped a beat. "So what am I to you?" Dylan looked at her as if the question was ridiculous. "You're the woman who makes me break every rule I've set for myself." Lily felt the air leave her, but before she could respond, he leaned in a little closer and whispered, "And that scares me more than anything." She was speechless. Because of all the answers she had imagined, that was the one she didn't expect. Lily felt her heart pounding so hard that she was sure Dylan could hear it. Let's have some fun with those who only read the comments. Type McDonald's in the comments. Only those who make it this far will understand. Now let's continue with the story. She didn't expect that response. She didn't expect him to be so direct. And, most of all, she didn't expect him to leave her speechless. Dylan Scott, the serious and methodical CEO, had just admitted that she completely messed up his life. The worst part? Lily knew he was telling the truth. But instead of feeling happy, a wave of confusion washed over her. She never planned this. She never wanted to fall for someone like him. And now there she was, standing in front of him, not knowing what to do. Dylan looked at her like he was waiting for a response, but she just couldn't speak. So after what felt like long seconds of silence, he stepped back. "You'd better get some rest." His voice was controlled, but Lily noticed something different in his tone. Disappointment. And it hit her like a punch. Dylan was never one to show emotions, but now he opened up to her, and she just froze. Without saying another word, he turned and walked down the hallway, leaving Lily alone with her chaotic thoughts. She entered the room, locked the door, and threw herself on the bed, running her hands over her face. What was happening to her? She'd never had a serious relationship. She never allowed herself to feel anything for anyone because she knew, in the end, people always left. That had been her life, her entire life. And now Dylan showed up, messed everything up, and wanted her to trust him? It was scary. But at the same time, her heart didn't want to run away. And that scared her even more. The next day, Lily tried to act normal. She got dressed, had breakfast alone, and headed to the food event as if nothing had happened. But the truth was, everything had changed. Dylan didn't show up for breakfast. He didn't send any messages. And for the first time, Lily realized how much she missed his presence. The morning dragged on. She attended a few tastings, tried to ignore the stares from others, and pretended she wasn't hoping to see Dylan any moment. But he didn't show up. Until, in the late afternoon, the inevitable happened. She was in the main hall, analyzing a dish, when she heard a woman's voice beside her. "Looks like someone's been left out." Lily closed her eyes for a second before turning around. Madeline was there, wearing a victorious smile. "What do you want now?" "Just checking on you. After your conversation with Dylan last night, he seems pretty distant." Lily crossed her arms, feeling her blood boil. "What do you mean by that?" Madeline gave a sideways smile. "Oh, sweetie, you really thought he was going to chase after you? Dylan's not the type to wait for anyone. If you don't want to play the game, he'll find someone who will." Lily felt a tightness in her chest, but she kept her expression steady. "You seem really concerned about me. Just realistic. Or maybe you're worried because you realize that this time, Dylan chose someone he can't control." Madeline narrowed her eyes. "You have no idea what you're talking about." "Oh, I do. And you know what? I might not know where this is going, but at least I'm not spending my days trying to manipulate others to feel superior." Madeline let out a short laugh. "Do you really think he cares about you?" Lily held back her anger and took a step forward. "I know he cares, but unlike you, I don't need to prove anything to anyone." Before Madeline could respond, Lily turned and walked out of the room, head held high. She might not know everything about Dylan, but she knew he wasn't like Madeline. And suddenly she realized she didn't want to run anymore. She wanted to face this head on. That night, Lily couldn't stay still. She knew where Dylan was. She knew he was at the hotel's restaurant having dinner with some investors. And she knew she needed to talk to him. Taking a deep breath, she grabbed a coat and left the room, walking with determination to the restaurant. As soon as she entered, she saw him. Dylan was sitting at the main table, talking to a few men in suits. He looked serious, focused on the conversation. But then, as if he felt her presence, his eyes met hers. And in that moment, the world around them disappeared. Lily didn't know if it was her walking or if it was him. She just realized when they were standing face to face, staring at each other in silence. "We need to talk," she said straightforward. Dylan studied her face for a moment before turning to the investors. "Excuse me, gentlemen." And then, without hesitation, he took Lily's hand and led her out of there. They walked in silence through the hotel corridors until they reached the private balcony, where they finally stopped. The cold night air brushed against Lily's skin, but she didn't care, because all that mattered was the man standing in front of her. Dylan put his hands in his pockets and watched her. "What's going on?" Lily took a deep breath. "You were right." He furrowed his brow. "About what?" "About me. About me always running away." He stayed silent, waiting. Lily looked at the sky for a moment before meeting his eyes again. "I never let anyone get close to me because I was always afraid that, in the end, people would leave. But you," she swallowed, "you made me want to stay." Dylan didn't move, but something in his eyes changed. I tried to convince myself that it didn't mean anything, but it does. And as much as that scares me, I don't want to run anymore. The silence between them seemed to carry the weight of the world. Without saying a word, Dylan took a step forward and kissed her. It was an intense kiss, filled with everything that had been held back between them for so long. Lily felt his hands holding her face, his lips pressing against hers with an urgency that made her forget everything. Forget the hotel, forget Paris, forget the world. The only thing that existed in that moment was him. When they pulled away, Lily's heart was still racing. Dylan rested his forehead against hers and smiled slightly. Finally. She laughed, feeling a warm sensation in her chest. Finally. But deep down, Lily knew. This wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning, and she was ready for whatever came next. Lily couldn't stop smiling. Ever since Dylan kissed her, everything around her seemed different. Like somehow, the world had changed color. She never imagined she'd be here. She never imagined she'd fall for someone like Dylan Scott. But it happened. And for the first time, she didn't want to run away. That morning when she went downstairs for breakfast, Dylan was already there, sitting at a table reserved for them. "Good morning, Collins." Lily smiled and sat down across from him. "You're in a good mood." He tilted his head. "Are you surprised?" She took a piece of toast and bit into it before answering. "Let's just say it's unusual." Dylan smirked and took a sip of his coffee. "So, how do you feel after last night?" Lily sighed, crossing her arms over the table. "To be honest, still a bit confused." "Confused? I've never done this before, Dylan. I've never let anyone get this close." He studied her face for a moment before saying, "Me neither." Lily blinked, surprised. Dylan always seemed so confident. She never imagined he could also be stepping into unknown territory. "So does that mean we're—" Dylan raised an eyebrow. Together, she took a deep breath. "Yes," he set his coffee cup aside and looked her straight in the eyes. "If you want to, Collins," she smiled. "I do." Dylan leaned over the table. "Great." Then, he took her hand and gently squeezed it. Lily felt her heart race. But deep down, she knew the battle wasn't over. Dylan's world wasn't an easy place. And some people weren't happy to see them together. That afternoon, as she walked through the hotel, Lily felt a chill run down her spine. Since the beginning of the trip, people had been whispering about her. But now, something was different. The looks were worse, the expressions more malicious. Then, as she walked past the reception, she overheard two women talking. "Did you see the news?" "Yeah, it's a scandal." Lily frowned and grabbed her phone. She opened the browser, and the second she saw the headline, she felt her blood run cold. CEO Dylan Scott involved in scandalous romance with former housekeeping employee. She clicked on the article, and the shock only grew. According to insider sources, Lily Collins, former maid at the Scott Hotel, was taken on a luxurious trip to Paris and promoted under suspicious circumstances. Sources say the young woman may be using her relationship with the CEO to advance in life. Lily felt her breath quicken. The article wasn't just gossip, it was a direct attack. Then her phone buzzed. "Dylan, where are you?" She swallowed and replied, "At the reception." Minutes later, Dylan appeared, but he didn't look happy at all. He was holding his phone, and the angry look on his face said it all. "I'm going to find out who did this." Lily let out a humorless laugh. "Do you really need to find out?" Dylan frowned. "What do you mean?" She crossed her arms. "And this is Madeline's name written all over it." He pressed his lips together. "I figured that." Lily took a deep breath. "I knew people would talk, but this is different." Dylan took her hand. "I'll take care of it." She looked him in the eyes. "How?" He smiled faintly. "My way." That night, Dylan called a press conference at the hotel. When Lily entered the room, she saw reporters everywhere, flashes going off, cameras recording. She had never felt so scared in her life. But then, she saw Dylan on stage, steady, unshakable. He grabbed the microphone and began. "I know a lot of you are here because of the rumors about me and Lily Collins, so let me clear something up." The whole room went silent. Dylan looked directly at the cameras. "Lily Collins wasn't promoted because of a relationship with me. She was promoted because she has undeniable talent and because she's proven over and over that she deserves her place in this world." Lily felt a lump in her throat. Dylan continued. "And for those of you who think this is some kind of scandal, I don't care." The reporters exchanged surprised glances. I've never been afraid of public opinion, and I'm not going to start now. He looked at Lily. I chose to be with her, and I'm not going to apologize for that. Lily felt her eyes burn. Dylan had just put everything on the line for her, and in that moment, she realized it didn't matter what they said. It didn't matter what they tried to do. They would face it together. When the press conference ended, Dylan walked over to her. What did you think? Lily laughed, feeling her heart race. You're completely crazy. He smiled. And you're still here. She cupped his face in her hands and said without hesitation, always. And then, without caring about the flashes or who was watching, she kissed him. Because, for the first time, Lily knew she belonged there. And no one was going to take her from that place. Lily never thought her life could change so much in such a short time. A few weeks ago, she was just a cleaning staff member, working during the day and covering night shifts to pay her bills. Now she was in Paris, in Dylan Scott's arms. Her name splashed across the headlines as the woman who won over the billionaire CEO. What once seemed like a distant dream was now her reality. And she had no regrets. The morning after the press conference, Lily woke up to her phone buzzing nonstop. Messages from Carla, from the hotel staff, from unknown numbers. Some congratulated her, others attacked, calling her an opportunist who just got lucky. But none of that mattered. What mattered was that, for the first time, she didn't feel alone. When she went down for breakfast, she found Dylan sitting at a table reserved for them, as always. But this time he seemed different. More relaxed. Did you sleep well? He asked when she sat down. Lily grabbed a cup of coffee and smiled. Better than the past few nights. I bet. Your name's in every newspaper. She rolled her eyes. You didn't have to do that press conference, you know? He tilted his head. I did. Lily sighed, picking up a croissant and taking a bite. You always like to make things more complicated, don't you? Dylan smiled. Always. She shook her head, laughing, but her smile faded when she saw a familiar figure entering the restaurant. Madeline, the blonde, looked flawless as always, but her gaze was colder than ever. She walked straight to their table and stopped beside Dylan. Can we talk? Dylan took a sip of his coffee and raised an eyebrow. If it's another one of your speeches, I'm not interested. Madeline forced a smile and looked at Lily. It's not a speech. I just want to clear a few things up. Lily crossed her arms. Oh, now you want to talk? After trying to ruin my reputation publicly? Madeline sighed. Lily, understand. What I did wasn't personal. Lily let out an incredulous laugh. Oh, really? Spreading lies about me to the world was just a little detail? Madeline pressed her lips together. They weren't lies. They were inconvenient truths. Dylan leaned back in his chair. Madeline, if you have something to say, just say it. She took a deep breath and looked directly at Lily. You changed the rules of the game. This world doesn't accept change easily. But even though you won this battle, you need to understand there will always be people trying to bring you down. Lily kept her gaze steady. So, basically, you're telling me to be careful? Madeline nodded. And to prepare yourself. What happened now was just the beginning. Dylan stood up, his tone firm and resolute. Lily doesn't need to worry about anything. She's not alone. Madeline looked at him for a long moment, then stepped back. Good luck to both of you. And with that, she left. Lily let out the breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Dylan took her hand across the table. Are you okay? She looked at him and smiled. Yes, because I know that no matter what happens, we'll face it together. He squeezed her hackly, and in that moment, Lily knew nothing could bring them down. The last day in Paris flew by. Lily and Dylan attended more events, met more people, and slowly she realized that she was no longer seen as an outsider. People were starting to respect her. On the last night, Dylan took her to dinner at one of the most exclusive restaurants in the city. The atmosphere was elegant, the food flawless, but Lily was more interested in the man in front of her than anything else. What happens when we go home? She asked. Dylan held his wine glass and looked at her for a moment before answering. Do you want to go back to the hotel? Lily hesitated. She'd always worked hard to carve out her space. But now her life had changed. I love what I do, but I think I'm ready for something new. Dylan smiled. Then I have a proposal. She raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. He set his glass down on the table and took her hand. Work with me, not as a hotel employee, but as my partner. You've got talent, Lily. We can create something together. Her heart raced. Are you serious? I never say anything I don't mean. She took a deep breath. It was a big step, but looking into his eyes, she knew the answer. I accept, Dylan smiled. Great choice. They toasted, and that night, Lily knew her life would never be the same. The plane landed back in the city, and Lily took a deep breath as she stepped out of the private jet. She was back to reality, but her reality was different now. As they got into the car, Dylan took her hand. Are you ready to start this new chapter? She smiled. I've never been more ready for anything in my life. He pulled her into a deep kiss, and Lily knew. Her destiny was never just about cleaning hotel rooms. Her destiny was beside Dylan. Lily had never imagined her life would take such a different turn. From hard work as a cleaning staff member to becoming an expert in the world of gastronomy, alongside one of the most powerful men in the industry. And most of all, she never imagined she'd fall in love along the way. In the past few months, her relationship with Dylan had only grown stronger. They worked together, traveled to various international events, and created an innovative project within the Scott Hotel's empire. But above all, they had each other, and that was all Lily needed. Or at least, that's what she thought, because Dylan Scott still knew how to surprise her. And that night, he was about to prove it. It was a special night. Lily and Dylan were at a luxurious restaurant by the sea, one of the most beautiful places they had ever visited together. Soft lights lit up the table reserved for them, and a warm breeze touched their skin. Lily looked at Dylan, smiling. You're unusually quiet. He held his wine glass and watched her for a moment, before giving a small smile. Maybe because I'm waiting for the right moment, she frowned. The right moment for what? Dylan just shook his head. Just wait. Before she could ask anything else, a violinist appeared in the restaurant and started playing a soft melody. The music was beautiful, romantic. Lily looked around, feeling her heart race. Something was different that night. Then, Dylan took her hand. Collins. She turned to him, surprised to see that his gaze was more intense than ever. Do you remember the first time we met? Lily laughed. Hard to forget. I was sleeping in your bathroom. Dylan smiled. Yes, and at that moment I knew my life would never be the same. Lily's heart skipped a beat. Dylan. He stood up and pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Lily held her breath. All the guests in the restaurant went quiet. Dylan knelt in front of her. You've challenged me from day one. You made me laugh when I thought I'd forgotten how. You showed me that life is so much more than work and status. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I'm not the easiest man in the world, but if there's one thing I've learned since you came into my life, it's that I don't want a future without you. He opened the box, revealing a stunning ring. Lily Collins, will you marry me? Tears ran down her face. Her heart raced. Her whole world was spinning. But in the middle of all of it, there was only one answer that made sense. Yes. Dylan smiled, took her hand, and slid the ring onto her finger. He stood up, cupped her face in his hands, and kissed her with all the emotion he felt. The restaurant erupted in applause. But Lily could only feel him and the love that filled her entire heart. 2 months later, Lily was walking down the aisle of a flower-filled garden, dressed in white, holding a bouquet of flowers in her trembling hands. The wedding took place outdoors, at a private estate with a breathtaking view of the sea. The golden sun was setting on the horizon, creating a scene straight out of a fairy tale. And at the end of the aisle, there he was. Dylan, dressed in an elegant suit, with a soft smile and a look full of love. Lily felt the tears come before she even reached the altar. Each step she took was a reminder of the journey she had made to get here, where she started, what she had to face, and how, against all expectations, love found a way to transform her. When she reached Dylan, he took her hand and whispered, "You look beautiful." She smiled, "And you're officially stuck with me forever." He chuckled softly, squeezing her hand, and I couldn't be happier about that. The ceremony was emotional. They exchanged heartfelt vows, promises of eternal love, and in the end, the officiant announced, "I now pronounce you husband and wife." Dylan didn't wait a second before taking her in his arms and kissing her deeply. The guests applauded, throwing flower petals over them, and Lily knew that this moment would be etched in her memory forever. 2 weeks after the wedding, Lily was in the bedroom, staring at a pregnancy test. She blinked a few times. 2 lines. 2. Her heart raced. Oh my God. She was pregnant. A mix of shock and happiness completely overwhelmed her. She and Dylan were going to have a baby. When she heard the bedroom door open, she quickly turned and saw Dylan walking in. "Collins, you need to see this. I just got an invite to—" He stopped when he noticed her expression. He frowned. "What's wrong?" Lily took a deep breath. Then she grabbed the test and showed it to him. Dylan looked at the object in her hand, blinked a few times, and frowned, not understanding. But then his eyes widened. "Is this?" Lily smiled. "Yes." For a moment he stood still. Then he took a step forward, cupped her face in his hands, and kissed her with indescribable emotion. When he pulled away, there were tears in his eyes. "We're having a baby." Lily laughed, feeling happiness overflow inside her. "We are." Dylan wrapped his arms around her, holding her gently. "I love you," she smiled, resting her head on his chest. "I love you too." And in that moment, she knew this was just the beginning of a new adventure. A new phase of love, growth, and happiness. But this time, it wasn't just her and Dylan. Now, they were a family. What did you think of Lily and Dylan's story? Leave your opinion in the comments. On a scale of 0 to 10, what rating would you give this story? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to follow all of our stories, and feel free to watch more emotional stories by clicking here on the final screen.